everybody. It's 5:25 p.m. and a winter evening. And I welcome you all to Phoenix Literature Festival Juniors. So, Phoenix Literature Festival is a unique platform for book lovers, authors, storytellers, and creative minds. Our mission is to empower children and youth to inculcate and develop reading, writing, and storytelling skills. This is the third literature festival since 2020. More than 35,000 viewers enjoyed our sessions so far. PLF Junior is supported by searchmytenders.com, Revival Mastery, Small Town Bigger Dreams, The Weekly Show with Aditya, StartupJob.in, Nirvana Physical Education Foundation of India, The Seed Education, Mana Arts, Wildlife Foundation, Gavaksh, Write With Us, the Eternal Quest, Saloon 9, and The Gym. We have an eminent panel with beloved authors. So I'll go one by one and introduce you so that you guys get to know who are we going to talk with. First of all, we have Vikas Prakash Joshi, who is a writer by nature, not by choice. Coincidence or compulsion. His writing career started in school and college at 13, where his contributions were published in the school newsletters and he won prizes in essay competitions. He wrote over 150 letters to prominent English newspapers and winning 5 Letter of the Week contests in leading newspapers and magazines before becoming a newspaper columnist in Junior Herald at the age of just 18. His columns and short stories in Junior Herald reached tens of thousands of readers. He subsequently won awards in the city, state, nation, and then international. His articles have been translated into various languages like Hindi, Gujarati, Marathi, and German. He has BA in English Literature from the Symbiosis College of Arts and Commerce and postgraduate diploma in journalism from the Asian College of Journalism, Chennai. Besides the books that he has written, Vikas has been published in 2 anthologies, Inspired by Tagore, published by the British Council UK, and Fables by the Cognition Tree, brought out by Cognition Tree. He has also written for and played a major role in bringing out a prestigious coffee table book, Gavkari Ek Tara, Samriddhi Sarvatra. Besides writing, he holds an advanced communicator silver in public speaking from Toastmasters International and has modeled for Kalam Kaushal, a Jaipur-based clothing store, and Jinke Jadhav, a leading fashion photographer. He hosts and runs Pune's first and only podcast on literature titled Literary Gupshup. He's based in Pune where he lives with his family. So we are delighted to have you on our dais.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Next up, we have Debleena. Growing up, she loved only 2 things, stories and numbers. She chose a career with numbers and for the first 12 years of her career, worked in investment banking, investment management, and venture capital with multiple global firms. For the last 7 years, she has been working in social impact space. An entrepreneur, she co-founded Kahania to combine her love for data and stories. She also built a learning platform called Chabi. She writes on business, history, finance, and crime. Her crime novel, A Marketplace for Murder, was represented by Bookbakers and published by Vishwakarma Publications. Her articles have been published in Economic Times, Huffington Post, Business Insider, etc. And she currently contributes articles for Economic Times Prime. She loves singing, but she promises to spare you that torture today. We welcome you, Debleena. It's priceless to have you here. Next up, we have Bhavna. Yeah, sure. Next up, we have Bhavna, an alumna of St. Stephen's College, DU. Bhavna went on to do MBA with specialization in human resource management from Amity University. She started her career as an early childhood educator and has mentored schools spanning diverse regions for their academic support. Having honed her skills for over 20 years in all the aspects related to the teaching, learning process, she now brings in vast experience and expertise in her roles as a teacher trainer. Her debut book, Be Strong Always and in All Ways, is her attempt to write a story to inspire, to instill hope, to nurture dreams, and to connect with her father, through her book. Bhavna, you're a fabulous person, and we are immensely delighted to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, Vandita.
So, the question, or maybe the topic that we are going to discuss today, is that sky has a hole. Now, the interesting story that happened with me was when I googled about it that the sky has hole. I saw so many NASA articles talking about how we have a hole in between the clouds and how NASA is working towards closing it. But when we talked about the insights from the organizers, we got to know that they actually mean sky is not a limit. There is a hole from which we can perceive and go even beyond. Since this platform is precisely for the kids, I somehow want to know, how do you think the kids of 2021 are different from the kids that were 20 years before? Or maybe, when we were kids? And how do you think that sky as a whole fits with them? So, starting with you, Debleena.
Thank you so much, Vandita. And great to meet all of you and all the people who are joining in, listening to us. So, for me, I think my entire work has been around this idea that there is no limit, and it's not based on what you study or what people tell you can do. It's what you imagine and what you can become based on it. So, the children, I think I see today, they are very, very well informed. I think it's probably a combination of the education background, the access a lot of people have, the fact that social media and internet has made many things available much more easily compared to before. So the level of information I think children have is far more than what they had maybe 20 years earlier. The sheer access, I think, has tremendously magnified. But that also brings a set of challenges, right? When you have so much access, I think there's a sense of what do I do with this, right? And we have seen stories. I think Bhavna is an educator. I've been an educator and I've been working in education for a long time. There's also a sense of, I would say, a little bit of innocence lost in many kids where they get so much information so early that it's difficult for them to see how to kind of navigate through that information jumble. So I think the role therefore even more for educators, for parents, for us storytellers when we write for children is to kind of simplify that world for them and give them pathways. They can still do anything they want, but give them pathways which can make their journey a little bit more easy, a little bit more personalized, and they don't have to feel that everything has to be done today. Life's quite long, so they don't have to feel that everything has to be done right now. I think that's the danger I see. That there's a lot of emotion around what can I get done today and how can I do all of this right now, right? So people are ambitious in a way, but I think they also probably need to have a little bit of that, the long game, play the long game. I think once you decide to play the long game, many things emerge, and life has many twists and turns. Each one of us have gone through that. So I think that's something I feel, and I hope they kind of get more used to and see more of. But definitely, I think children are far more aware today. They have far more access today, and the limits in terms of careers, I think, are not there. There's so much they can do in terms of career choices, and books play a very important role, I think, in bringing that imagination alive to them, even today.
Thank you, Devalina. That really clarifies that today, when we say sky has a hole, we mean to say that the youth today, or maybe the children of 14 to 18 years in age, are ambitious. They are not waiting for the opportunities to come and knock at their door, rather, they are creating ones. On that note, when I say that kids today are overly ambitious, aspirational, and maybe more practical, do you think it is somehow compromising with the innocence of the childhood, as Debelina mentioned, Bhavna?
Okay, so I will take that question. And with that, I want to first start by thanking PLF Junior for giving me this opportunity. And I really appreciate the topic, sky as a whole. So I think today's generation will be able to understand more because they have more clarity and they have more exposure. So it took a while for me to understand and make connection that that whole is something positive that we are talking about, right? So definitely I agree with whatever Debelina said, and the present generation can express with more clarity, and they have enhanced confidence if we go back and compare with our times. Yes, and so if you could just repeat the question so that I can touch upon that aspect now.
Sure. Do you think that ambition, aspirations, or maybe the more practicality, maturity is somehow playing with the innocence of childhood?
No, I would like to disagree, because I feel that we don't have to call it ambition, or making them be very particular and asking questions about what they want to do in life. Basically, as parents, as educators, as adults in their life, we have to give them ample opportunity to explore everything. So I don't think somewhere that that exposure is going to impact their innocence. We can keep their innocence intact if we as adults are conscious how we deal and what kind of interactions we have with children, without using those heavy words, and enabling them is something that we should all as adults look for in our interactions with children, is what I feel.
Thank you, Bhavna. So, Bhavna has mentioned that the parents, or maybe the elders, they have this huge responsibility of inculcating and maybe clarifying the path in which they can enjoy their childhood, and they can maybe prepare for their ambitions and aspirations. But there is the burning question with the parents, and that is that parents primarily think that there are only 4 or 5 career options. Okay. And a survey was done in 2019 by CNBC, and they found out that 93% of the students only know 7 options in job categories, whereupon in India there are 250 different job opportunities waiting for the children. So, do you think there is something wrong with the parents? Vikas?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you, Vandita, for that question, very thought-provoking question. At the outset, I thank Rahul and the festival ELF for giving us this wonderful, wonderful opportunity to meet all of you and speak to you. Yeah, to answer your question, I will disagree in the sense that it's not so much about parents doing something wrong. What has happened is that the parents have grown up in a era of tremendous scarcity, you know, scarcity of everything, and the kids are growing up in the opposite situation where there is so much, but then what do you choose? You go to TV channels, you go to YouTube, where inexhaustible content. It's literally inexhaustible. You can spend 1,000 years just watching every YouTube video. So I think it's not so much about the parents being doing something wrong. What needs to happen is that the parents need to open up to the idea that whatever may have been the situation when you were a child, now that situation is different. Today people can do a wide variety of professions. People don't need to live only in big cities. That's what COVID has shown us. You can live in a smaller town. If you have high speed broadband, you can do some work there. So parents need to open up to the possibilities the world has to offer. At the end of the day, when you say 250 careers, that's true, but then who the parents themselves have to be aware of it before they can tell their kids, right? I need to know there are 250 before I can tell my kid there are 250. So somewhere, the word is a bit judgmental, so I don't want to use, because yeah, a lot of parents in India today are first generation parents, in the sense that they are the first generation in their families to get an education. So, if you yourself have grown up telling from your mother and father, engineer, doctor bano, tabhi aap aage ja paoge, then what will you tell your kids? That's the same thing you will tell. So I think the parents need to understand this, that there are 250 or 300 or whatever professions, and your son or daughter may choose any of them, and all of them are okay. The other aspect, Vandita, I just want to very briefly touch on is India is still a very status oriented society. You may be earning a lot of money, but you're just fashion designer. I've heard the comments, oh, he's earning a lot of money, but he just works in a BPO. I've heard these comments. So the parents have to look at it from both sides. One is the status and one is the openness of opportunities, both.
Thank you, Vikas, for actually touching the topic. I was coming to it. So my next question is to Debleena. Vikas has clearly mentioned that the first generation parents and then the Indian society. So do you think India's socio-cultural norms are like a breaker or maybe hurdle or the complexity in their path wherein we say the sky has a hole? So Debelina, what do you say about this?
Yeah, I think so. I've been working in education. The platform which we built called Chabi, it's an open schooling platform, right? So if you think about it, there are ways in which people can get educated even without going to school, right? We have open schooling options which can really help people if they're interested in sports or music. They can still complete their exams, right? People don't know, right? So there are many options available where I think awareness is probably low. If you look at it from the parents' point of view, I think there's huge pressure. And every generation of parents go through this, especially I think this generation, because on one hand you have a flux of information. On the other hand, there's so much work going on about future of work that none of us really know what is going to happen. COVID has thrown one more tangent on it, and I think parents, I think, want the best. Every parent wants the best for their children, right? So what? And I think Vikas touched upon this. What mental model will they use when they are guiding their children? They will use a mental model which probably they have seen or they have experienced as they've grown up, right? So a lot of things as we have witnessed when we were growing up is changing now because of multiple levers. Digitization is one lever. COVID itself has been one lever. A lot of changes have been happening in the way alternative schools and digital education models have brought in new ways of education. The work which you are doing, for example, in inculcating storytelling habits in children. There are other organizations, for example, like Stones to Milestones, Planet Spark. They are preparing children to become creators, right? Which is could be creation in technology, could be creation in actually writing or developing yourself as a creator, right? So this work is happening. A lot of schools are doing a lot of work in helping their children become powerful narrators, speakers, creators, right? I'm sure Bhavna has done some work as well in this area, right? So I think there's work happening. It's just the sheer numbers are too huge in India. So we have 300 million kids almost, right, in the age group of school going kids. And the diversity is also too huge. You have very upscale schools, you have budget private schools, you have government schools, you have kids who probably cannot go to school because of lack of multiple issues which they might be going through in their family. So the diversity is so huge that one solution will not work for all. So I think we cannot therefore have a neat solution where everybody can kind of come up with one answer for all of this. So and therefore parents also cannot have one answer. I think it's probably very important for parents to feel a little less pressure than they already feel, because all of us do as parents. I think it just helping the kid be nurtured a little bit, maybe getting access to some option if possible of career counseling, career guidance which exists right now. Probably allowing them to find out things which they like to do and then giving them a guiding path. So I think the issue is not that parents do not want to give the right guidance. Issue is everybody is confused. You don't know, right? Tomorrow you could become a YouTuber and earn a lot of income, or you could not, right? It could also fail. People don't talk about the dangers which happen sometimes when you take the paths which are not the chosen path, right, or the known paths, right? And which is why engineer, doctor was known to be the standard two choices even earlier. So I think there is definitely more options available. There are more options available, but there are also more, I would say, circuitous routes to get there, and nobody knows the right pathway to get there. So you therefore need guides, right? Whether it's teachers or parents or career counselors who can make these pathways easier. Kids, I think, themselves are very well aware, but they also need guidance. I think the issue is one of, I would say, structured guidance which can help parents and students navigate this journey, because it is not getting any easier. It's only getting harder to make the right choices.
Thank you, Debelina, for talking about the curriculum or maybe the guidance that we were talking about. So, precisely, I'll tell you about my background. I am a full stack developer. I started with engineering, and during my last years of engineering, I ended up becoming a content creator as well. Now I do video creation as well. So I myself am in a hurdle or maybe the confusion of a lot of opportunities on my hands. On one end, you have full stack development, which is a high paying job. On the other hand, there is content writing, which is very interesting, creative, but it's a very low paying job, right? And the major thing, me as a student, I realized was the textbooks that I really learned through my college or my school are not being very well implemented in the industry. So I feel that even though, okay, we have guided our students better, we have done everything, but still the curriculum of the college or the school is not up to date, that can really make the students skilled. So, Bhavna, how do you think that the education system needs to evolve so as to bring out the best from the students?
Okay, so I'll take that question. Very interesting, and I would like to say that, start by saying that education and where teachers are concerned have always been very thoughtful of how to make children aware of what they like doing and enhance their skills and give them multiple exposure. Because, if I talk about myself, I've been in this profession for almost 25 years now, and even from my first year, I was very, very aware about the fact that whatever I do, I have to keep the students in my class at the center of my planning. So I was very aware of that fact. So I think a very important point I'm trying to make here is that as adults, because children are looking up to us, they are learning from us, they are taking their they're looking up to us as role models. So we have to be passionate about what we do. And if I wasn't passionate about teaching, then I have to make this conscious decision of moving away. Because if I continue to be there and my passion is not there, then I am impacting and perhaps diffusing that energy in everyone around me. So everybody should be where they feel they are passionate about and they can contribute. So in terms of curriculum, for example, if you're teaching about plants to children, that we make a conscious effort that we bring in that element of, say, singing, where we talk about the entire process through a fun song, so that the singer in the child is touched upon, and probably giving them an opportunity to see how that seed goes into a plant, so that the scientist, the observer in this child is touched upon. So I have always made a conscious effort, and being from this industry, I would like to believe that every educator makes a conscious effort. It's just that awareness is important. For example, you spoke about 250 professions being be out there. So I feel that even as an adult, I should be open about exploring various options. So if I'm a teacher, my growth doesn't stop there. So this year the pandemic gave an opportunity for me to explore my skills, my writing skills. So I'm an author, and now my next step is that I feel that I can be a good editor as well. So the journey continues. We shouldn't put full stops in our skills, our growing journey. And it's very important for us to have an open mindset, so that children also get that feeling, and they do not look at being in a profession at something that is suffocating them. Move on, explore various options, and be passionate about what you do, because otherwise you will not make an impact. And I think every opportunity should be used as an opportunity to infuse that energy and enthusiasm in people around us.
Okay, Bhavna, I can, write it on papers that you have been a brilliant educator. By the way, you have talked about all the insights. So we have touched various levels. We have talked about the parents. We have talked about the students. We have talked about the educators. But what about the government? So let's say the teacher is more aware of how to teach what is there on the textbook. There have been various debates on what to put, what not to put. Like, for example, I think my whole high school went on wherein we used to study the textbook in which we used to read about the Mughals and all of that. Suddenly, today is the era when people are like, Mughals were the bad, now Marathas are the good. But, the authenticity of the education that we were taught before and now, it's somehow juggling between the governments. though we say the governments have taken a lot of step in reforming the education system, maybe the JE pattern or the NEET pattern or maybe the curriculum of the NCRT, Make in India, Skill Up India, Startup India, so many things. Do you think government is on the right track or we really need to shake it up? So, Vikas, this question is towards you.
Yeah, Vandita, this is actually a very thought-provoking question. I will say yes and no. From independence till now, and even especially last 20 years, there has been a vast growth in educational institutions of every kind. Let's recognize this. Across India, by the government also, the government school, government secondary school at all levels. Bright schooling, class 10, class 12, that part full marks, state, local, and central. That part is fine. But the second part of your statement, I definitely agree with. We have a lot of quantity, but what about the quality, right? We have so many schools, but the question is, what about the teacher training? What about framing the curriculum in such a way that it is appealing to children? Like, for example, we are all children's writers. Even now I come across children's books which are not written from the perspective of what a child will find interesting. It's what moralistic, it's lessons, didactic. So I would say two things. One is there should be more emphasis on framing a child friendly content. By that I mean not just um, putting some facts, but putting things in a way which a child will find interesting or appealing. That's one very important thing. And I think CBSE is one board which has moved in that direction. If you see last few years, it has moved. Coming to a point about history, history all over the world is a very complex and very controversial topic at the end of the day. So it is difficult. It would be nice to have some sort of agreement, but realistically speaking, that's very difficult because we have all. Debleena will have her own thoughts. Vandita will have her own. Bhavna will have her own. Vikas will have his own. It's not like maths and science. What we can do is in maths and science, I strongly believe there can be a common curriculum. In history, there can be a conscious attempt to teach it in a way to make children think. One of my teachers used to say, don't tell the child what to think, teach him how to think. Though that is, of course, much more challenging. So I think these two things are there. One is making the content more child friendly. That is one thing the government definitely should do. And the second thing is they should invest more in teacher training. Teacher training is one of the least explored aspects of education, I would say. It's neglected. So I would say these two things. The quality should be given more importance than just the quantity.
Right. So, okay, we have taught them really nicely. We have framed the curriculum also really nicely. But there is something that we should be aware of. As per UNICEF, more than half of South Asian youth are not on the track to have the education and skills necessary for employment in 2030. Nearly 1 lakh young people enter in the labor market each day. And if this is the gap between the skills and the education, do you think the employment will come out with the flying colors, Debleena?
Thank you for asking this question, Vandita. A lot of my work is on this area. And you touched upon two ends of the problem. So the first end is, I think, like Vikas talked about, foundational learning, right? The most foundational of foundational learning is reading, right? And a lot of kids in India, because of the fact that they may be first generation learners or because of the fact that due to COVID, schools themselves, were not open. Many of them got, they got a learning poverty last couple of years, right? And already half of the children cannot read at grade level. This is even more exacerbated right now after COVID, right? So that's one big challenge because imagine if you can't read at grade level. So 50% of the kids in India cannot read grade 2 text by grade 5. And every subject is a learning problem, is a language problem, right? So if you can't read in English properly, then even science and math and all those subjects will become problems later on. So that's the first problem, right? And if because of lack of proper guidance and lack of proper curriculum, if that kind of extends throughout your school, by the time you finish college, you'll definitely not be able to keep up with the curriculum requirements. That's one. On the other side of the problem, if you look at it, the number of jobs which are required in India and the number of people who are needing those jobs, right? If you look at the skill versus employment ready population in India, there is no way we will have enough formal jobs. Let's accept that. We are not going to have that many formal jobs. And therefore, there have to be multiple levels of solutions. Today, entrepreneurship is one such solution, and there are many well-known people like Manish Agarwal who talk about that. That you create small business opportunities. Delhi government is doing work around this with their entrepreneurship curriculum. So people should become job creators and not job seekers. That's one way to solve, or I would say one thread of the solve problem-solving part of it. The other thread is that where are the jobs, right? I mean, gone are the days when you had jobs only in particular areas. We talked about this before. So maybe jobs would emerge in climate action. Maybe jobs would emerge in the creator economy. Maybe jobs would emerge in core technologies, right? So there are different elements in which jobs would emerge. So how can we kind of help people navigate those pathways to get the jobs which are more aligned to future, and not jobs which are getting automated and probably at risk of getting over. We have to remember the fact that no matter what we do in the next 10 years, 90% of jobs might still remain in the informal economy, right? Which is why if you see a lot of the gig jobs or Uber driving kind of jobs are still probably what a large population of India's kids get access to. And the reason is because many of them are not able to complete their formal college education. Just 25% of the kids finish the college education. So it's three levels of the problem: A, lack of foundational reading; B, lack of formal college completion. So first step, some people drop. Second step, some people drop. And then by the time you come to the end of this, right, when you actually look for jobs, obviously all these add up and become like a multi-headed hydra, right? So we have to solve it, therefore, through entrepreneurship, through better quality, gig economy, labor rules, and job, kind of understanding of those kind of career options from those jobs, as well as trying to find out what jobs are there in the future and helping people access those. So it's not a simple problem. These are these wicked problems, right, which will take decades to solve, and no single actor can solve this, right? So it is not the government's job to give everybody a job. I think it's the educator, it's the government, it's the entrepreneur, it's the large business houses, it's the parent, the teacher, right? All of them have to work together. And one last thing I would like to mention here is that it's not that there is no work happening on the curriculum side. If you look at the new education policy that was launched in 2019, it has a lot of these aspects already baked in. It is talking about more access to foundational learning. It is talking about vocational education, skill-based education. So we need to have the both the will and the skill to implement solutions like this at the scale at which India needs, which means across different types of schools, different types of student categories, etc. It's a long answer, but that's the way, probably one way in which we can get to starting to solve this problem.
Okay, I see Bhavna and Vikas have missed somehow, but there is one question. Okay, we have. Okay, thank God. Okay. So, Bhavna, you are a human resource expert. This question is exactly for you. Do you think that youth of today are being paid well, or do you think the kids of tomorrow, or maybe the kids who will get employed tomorrow, will be paid nicely? Because recently a survey was like taken out in which only 1% of India's population has the rich cream of wealth. So the gap between rich and poor is constantly increasing. And there have been many instances where we have found that people are being underpaid, exploited at their workplaces. Okay, there might be cases where they are being paid well, like for example at doctor or engineer level, but there are most of the jobs wherein they are paid less. So this comes up as an insecurity among the children, and they try to hustle more, even harder. Becomes a big pressure because for the children, the job that they're aiming at makes the larger portion depending upon the pay scale. So, what do you have to say about it, Bhavna?
Okay, so I would like to say that as an educator and as a human resource person, also, I would like to be hopeful of the future, and I think there is a we appear to be strong, than our past times, and there is a ray of optimism, hope, and people are strong enough to voice what they want and what they want to do. So with that, I think, like I made this point before also, we should be more focused on exploring what our passion is. And there are many incentives to, that comes as a reward of that passion. So money should be, the pay should be one such factor, not the only factor. And I am sure, like I said, I want to be hopeful, so everybody will be rewarded as per their abilities, as per their skill sets. And if not, then we are strong enough to voice and let people know that this is what our expectation is. So having a strong voice is very important. And the second point I like to make again, that you should be passionate. uh, don't try to follow what others are following. Be a trendsetter, stand out with your abilities, make a difference for yourself. And once you've done that, try to impact the lives of people around you, because it's not just about your journey alone. We have to move forward as a nation. And in that, every connection that we make is important, is valuable. So if we are able to make a difference in our journey, and we've reached that level of satisfaction, we have reached that level of self actualization, then we should help others around us also to be able to reach there. So I think, move upwards, and then hold hands of people around you, so that this world becomes a better place. And like I said, we have to be hopeful, we have to be positive in our thinking. And in spite of a global pandemic, people are making their best efforts to be strong, to overcome this. And so I think, as a nation together, we can make a difference, and we already are. So if we talk about the NAP policy, in that also there are a lot of initiatives where teacher training is being given importance. So you and me are talking about this in this important, so this itself is an important platform where we are voicing. And so there are different topics through the day, so every person is talking and making a difference through multiple ways, not just one. And so with that thought, I think we will be able to have better pay also for people as per the abilities.
Thank you, Bhavna. Thank you. And okay, we are hopeful, we are optimistic.
Yes.
But Vikas, these were most of the topics related to the middle class family, right?
Right.
Let's not forget that majority still lives in the rural area, or maybe even if they are in urban area, they are at low scale. We can still see people being employed under the age of 14, maybe in the restaurants, maybe in the some local outlets. We can see them doing some odd jobs. What about their ambitions? And how are they going to at least reach the sky, if not till the hole?
Yeah, Vandita, I believe that to touch upon or to expand what Debleena has said, that we have every kind of child. She has mentioned that we have every kind of child or every kind of school, the advanced schools, the rich schools, and then the poor. But we also have millions of kids who are not part of any formal schooling system. They are not part of um, the posh or the poor or whatever. They are outside the system, migrant workers' kids. So I think what we India will have to do, and this is a huge opportunity in a sense, which I believe countries like Africa and Bangladesh can also learn from, is we will have to do open schooling, and we will have to look at education. Thus far we have looked at education only through the prism of somebody sitting in the four walls, passing an exam and getting a piece of paper. But to reach out to people who you have mentioned, who are working the whole day, but who have aspirations, I can definitely say. In Maharashtra, we have night schools, where there are children who go and work during the day, and it's very strong. So we will have to look at things like night schools. we'll have to think of things like taking the school to the student. So, for example, those areas where there are a lot of children, say below the age of 16 or below the age of 14, then taking the school to them, reaching out to them through open schooling, through this video conferencing, and even um, through their employers. I would even say where appropriate and where it's feasible. It's not always feasible through their employers, and as well as upscaling the open schooling. We already have the National Institute of Open Schooling. That will have to be, of course, revamped and brought into the tune of the 21st century. But the goal should be really no child left behind. That's the message I would really like to put forward here. No child left behind. So even the sections of society you're talking about, I think if you adopt these three, four methods, one is where there are migrant workers, children, you can send teachers to go to those camps. Where they are settled, we can look at things like night schooling, evening schools, weekend schools. And the third option, which is huge, and which I can say is we have seen on this Vedantu, and we have all seen those ads about people studying in Ladakh and various places. And I can say for a fact, since I've been to Arunachal Pradesh, I can say I've seen this actually with my own eyes. That we need to embrace the IT to reach people who otherwise are underserved. A person cannot from Delhi cannot travel to 29 states, but something from Delhi can speak to people from 29 states at one time. So we need to embrace these two things. One is the video conferencing, the open schooling, and the third is taking the school to the student. Please.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the session. The fourth industrial revolution is approaching. We are going to see fifth generation of weapons. There are so many things waiting for us. So, but there is one interesting question that I have in mind, and it is a one word answer question. The three of you have to tell me what you youth or kids want from India. One word answer, starting from you, Debleena.
Freedom.
Bhavna.
Mm, happiness.
Vikas.
Hope.
So we need freedom, happiness, and hope so that we can see the hole in the sky, we can reach till the sky, we can achieve our ambitions and our aspirations. With this, I formally round up the panel discussion, and it was amazing having you all. We gladly touched each of the aspect that is related with the kids, the education, their employment, and so on and so forth. I hope I did justice with the topic, and let's have final words from Debleena, Bhavna, and Vikas. What do you have to say one by one?
Okay, so I'll start. I would like to say that my learning has been taking from the topic, the sky has a hole. So wherever you feel that you are not able to do what you want to do, try and create that hole and fly high with your dreams and make a difference in whichever or wherever place you are, because your life matters and what you do matters. So make that whole is what I will remember as a takeaway of this session.
Debleena, you?
Yeah. So my question, I think my answer is going to be very practical. How do you make that whole? Everybody wants to reach, right? And cross the whole. Two answers. One is like Vikas very nicely mentioned, my entire work has been in this area of open schooling. In fact, our organization is called Chabi, and what we are doing is helping people, go through open schooling and get their school certification. So every child should at least get that support. Is what I believe, and that's what we've enabled. The second thing is financial literacy. Unless you know what to do with your money, you really will not be able to manage when you get the money, right? So the next book I'm writing, and my publisher Wonder House and my agent Suhail Mathur Bookmakers are, they really nicely kind of helped me plan this out, is how to tell children about money from a very young age using storytelling, right? So they're not scared when they start earning, and when the money becomes actually a scary topic for them. So I think these two things are practical solutions. I believe everybody needs to get the chance to finish their schooling. That should not be denied to kids because of lack of support and lack of money. Secondly, they need to know about money. Only then they can go towards the whole and beyond.
Last but not the least, Vikas.
Yeah, the title is Beyond the Whole. You know, I think all of us have aspirations as children, and all children do. But I think to add to Devlina's point, she has talked about money. One aspect which I feel should be focused on is teaching kids healthy ways of dealing with ups and downs in life. This is something very important. Kids these days, they go through love, they go through success, they go through failure, constant bombardment of messages by the mass media about how you must be successful. But what is success? And when you get it, how should you feel? If you are rejected or you are accepted by a particular thing or person, how do you deal with it? I think if kids really have to go, as I say, reach the hole or go beyond that hole, they need to also learn how to deal with their own emotions, how to express them in a healthy way, and how to, when to express, where to express, and how to express in a healthy way. How to come to terms with your own emotions, because I think that's the most important thing. And if that is there, I think kids will really grow up to achieve their aspirations and even surpass them as well.
Thank you so much, everyone, joining in. And we had great takeaways. And that's it from our side. The next session is going to come soon.
Thank you, Vandita, and thank you,
I,
Vikas and Bhavna, for your inputs as well. Really enjoyed. Thank you.
yeah,
Bye.
Bye.
thank you all.